And now we are live. Hi, my name is Jacob, and welcome to this Friday's GLFR Business Webinar about the Greenkeeper module. Just like any other webinar, I would love to start with checking if the sound is working. It usually is, but if someone can hear me out there, please write a message in the chat so I can confirm that everything is up and running the way it should. We have an okay, so things are good. I will start with the program for today. Thank you for joining us. We will be talking about the Greenkeeper module today. And let me just jump to our slideshow. So your benefits with the Greenkeeper module. This is the last of the 8 planned webinars that we announced a few months ago, just as the whole Corona thing started, at least in Denmark. And we've done everything from the basics of GLFR Business through sponsors, event guides, the new GLFR front, and we talked about insights last Wednesday. And today we're finishing up with what you can get from the Greenkeeper module. We will probably be announcing some more webinars because this format seems to be working really well for you as a customer. So you can ask me questions, you can see it afterwards, and you get a lot of insights on how to actually use the platform. So we will probably be announcing new webinars, so keep an eye on our newsletters. As mentioned in the overview here, all the old webinars have been recorded and are available online. So on the page where you found this webinar, or when you're logged into GLFR Business, you can see a support button in the bottom left. And down there, you will find a link to all the webinars. So you can see the old ones again, if you missed them, or if there's some specific point you want to see again. And of course, if any of it raises any questions, don't hesitate writing to us on support@glfr.com. We will help you get whatever you want done. But let's go to the agenda for today. First of all, we will talk about areas and how we calculate them and how you see them. Then I will go through how to map new elements because that's a big part of the entire GLFR platform, but usually it's something the Greenkeepers handle. I will talk about what you can do with the tech maps and how you can document things on your technical installations and everything else on your course, actually. Just like on all the other webinars, I will be going a little back and forth from the presentation and into GLFR Business so you can get some hands-on experience as well. And if, again, just like the other webinars, if I talk a little too fast, I go over something without explaining it good enough, please just write a question in the chat. I will hopefully spot it on my second screen and I can answer those questions and check it out on your course or whatever it is, depending on the question, of course, or we can help you afterwards. But first of all, areas. We have a whole area, a whole section in GLFR Business talking about your areas, and we have divided it into 2 specific parts. The first thing you will see when you log in there is this giant pie chart and a list of all the areas we've mapped on your entire club. So that will be even your practice greens and usually also stuff like your parking lot and your driving range and all of that. So all the areas we've mapped are combined into the first table you see when you go into areas in GLFR Business. The idea with this is to give you some better ways to plan what you purchase and to see the areas of new map things and stuff like that. If you scroll down on this page, you will see a similar block for each of your courses. If you only have one 18-hole course, the numbers will, to a high degree, match each other. If you have several courses, or maybe even in 2 different locations, you will find those in different lists. So if you have a championship course and maybe a beginner's par 3 or whatever, and you maintain them in 2 different ways, which is usual, then you can see the areas of the greens that you maintain at a high level and the areas of the green that you maintain at maybe a little lower level because it's just for the beginners, depending on how your club is set up. But you can see all your courses in the list here. I'll switch over to, wrong way, to GLFR Business, and I will just, like usual, go into Model Golf Club. Thank you to Model for letting me do that. And those insights and the areas part, you find it under Greenkeeper in the main menu. You can click areas right here. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the list of every mapped element on Mollerup Golf Club. You can see the total hectares over here, and you can see how they are distributed between each other in the graph to the right. If you have some really large areas, for example, in this case, the largest area is the high rough area, and you don't want to see that in the pie chart. You'd maybe just want to see how your foregreens, greens, and fairways compare in size, or whatever it is. You can remove some of the check marks over here, which will update the graph over here, so you get some new percentages depending on which areas you have selected in the total combination over here. You also see a count of the number of areas we have mapped. So in here is a great indication if we missed something, or maybe you added a new training green somewhere, or practice green, and we didn't map it. So in here will be an indication. You probably know exactly how many greens you actually have. Something came up on my computer, something support thing. Ignore that. Yeah, so you can see the number of things. For example, we have 28 greens mapped on Mollerup because they have a lot of practice greens. They have their 6-hole par 3 course, and of course their 18-hole course. So that adds up to 28 total greens, and a total hectare of green of just below 1 hectare. They have rather small greens at Mollerup. One thing you can change here, if hectares aren't your thing, you can switch to square meters instead. Especially for lower or smaller areas combined, it might be an idea to see the square meters instead of a hectare number of 0.00 something. So you can just switch between that in the table right there. And as I said, down here we have the different courses that are mapped. In this case, we have the pay and play course with the 6 greens, 7 fairway areas, and all of that. So they're just combined into each their own category if you want to see that for each course. Yeah, and that's actually the areas part. We also have an option to see the specific area of a specific element, but I'll cover that a little later in the presentation today. So that's areas. The next part I'm going to talk about is how you add elements to Golf for Business, or to the Golf platform in general. Most new elements are added on site with the tracker app in hand, just like the example we have here where he's mapping the bunker. You can map tech elements this way. We recommend that very strongly. Go out on your course, map your sprinklers, map your drainage, map your water installations, the pipes, everything that's here and there. The control boxes, the valves, all of those things can be mapped into Golf for Business. If you don't have any kind of digital representation of that, it's a really good idea to get it done. You get a high security in that you actually know where everything is. Let's say your head greenkeeper, he chooses to go to another club, or he retires, or whatever it is. Suddenly a lot of information could get lost, and you really need to have this information. So you can map that and get it into your backend in Golf for Business. You can also use those tech maps if you have workers that are only there during the summer who don't know the course really well. The tech maps are a great way for them to see that the head greenkeeper tells them to go repair the sprinkler that is that sprinkler on the map specifically. Then they can actually see that on the map and find it with the GPS app. You can also use the Mapper app to map new areas. It could be a new bunker you added, or maybe you added a tee or moved a tee, or whatever it is. You expanded the fringe of your green or something like that. You can also map temporary areas, which could be area under repair, or maybe you have a whatever you change. It could be a green during the winter or something like that. You can map that with the Mapper app to get a precise representation of it into the platform. Every element you map that has an area in the current platform, you would have that calculated immediately. So if you're, for example, planning building a new bunker or something like that, you could go out and actually map it where you consider adding it, and then you can go into the web platform and actually see the square meters of that area that you're considering building. Then you can calculate how much sand you would need, how much more dirt do you need, how much fertilizer, whatever it is you need based on actual numbers from the GPS, which is just a great tool. And since you have to click the new golfer button we talked about in a webinar a few weeks ago for it to go out into the golfer app, you can actually do those temporary mappings and see them and then delete them from the base data before you release again. So it won't affect the players if you map something that's temporary, that you don't want to go out. If you map, for example, area under repair and want it to end up in the golfer app, remember that you have to map it, verify that it looks the way you want, and then click the new golfer button for that to come out to the players. The last thing you can map with the app is actually daily pin positions. If you want to do that, you can actually go to the pin every time your Greenkeeper sets it and click add in the app to actually map that pin position and get that directly into the golfer app so players can see the pin position instead of the center green as their primary target. Sorry. I missed the camera. That's good. Yeah, so that's the general idea of mapping. And I just want to quickly go through what the mapping app actually looks like if it's your first time going out mapping. The mapping app is called Golfer Greenkeeper, and you log in with exactly the same credentials as you do on Golfer Business. So if you have a user for Golfer Business, you can log into the mapping app. On the homepage of the mapping app, the first thing you will see is a list of synchronized, the courses, the holes, and all the tracking groups elements that we have mapped on your course. If you click the arrow I've marked here, you will get a total list of every element we have on your course, which matches the list that you saw on your areas. At least some of it. There are way more elements here than there are in the areas list. Don't get confused with number of holes and number of courses maybe being higher than you expect, because we, for example, have added a course called your overview course that has one extra hole. So if you expect to have one course with 18 holes, you probably have 2 courses and 19 holes because we added that overview course. That's just for internal use, so you can actually get an overview map. But the list here just shows you everything that has been mapped. To get started mapping, you click the menu in the top left corner and select mapping from the menu. Then you enter this map that is the Google Maps that you know, and you see your position as the green dot here. It changes color based on your GPS performance right now. Green, then you should be able to map. As a default, nothing is enabled, so you have to click the layers button in the top right to get this view of the layers you can show, because sometimes showing all the layers at the same time can overwhelm the phone because it's a lot of data to show at once. So in here, you can click the layers you want. We usually recommend adding cuts, infrastructure, tech, and vegetation. And notice that the layers define what you see on the map and which types of element you can map. So if you're out there trying to map something that is tech for the first time and haven't enabled tech here, you won't be able to find tech in the element selector. But let's say you add cuts, infrastructure, tech, and vegetation, and then click the X to close the layers menu. Then you will get a map that actually represents what we've mapped in those layers. And this, I have to say, this is an example on a fake course that I made just outside my house because I couldn't go to a golf course when I made the slides because of Corona. So it's not actually what a course looks like, but there are some greens, there is a forest, there are some single trees and some fairways, just so you can see more or less what it would look like. Then to select an element to map, you click the gear in the bottom where it says select element to track and click element. And then you get a list of all the available elements in the groups you enabled earlier. So in this case, it would be cuts and vegetation and tech. So let's say we want to add a sprinkler. I scroll down the list and find tech, and then I find sprinkler in that list. As you can see, just in the bottom part of that circle, I just clicked sprinkler in that list. It could be any of the tech elements you have. And then I click the gear to close the selection menu, just like that. And in case of the sprinkler, which is a point, which is says right next to the name, all you have to do is click the add button every time you're at a sprinkler. So let's say you have 4 sprinklers around your green. You just have to go over to that sprinkler, click the add button. Then a blue dot will show on your map where you were and confirm that you have mapped that sprinkler. If you have an internet connection, just like you can see in the bottom of this screenshot, it'll say app is synchronized. Then it tells you that that sprinkler has safely arrived to our servers. Then you'll go to the next sprinkler, click add, go to the next, click add, and so on and so forth. If it was, for example, your pin position, it would be exactly the same. All you have to do when the new cup is placed and you add that pin is click add. We would save it, update that pin on that green, and make it ready to release to golfer. If you're adding, for example, a line or a polygon, which could be, let's say, it's a drainage tube or a new bunker, then it would say where it says sprinkler point in the screenshot. I'm pointing on my screen. You can't see that. Right over there, maybe. It would say line or point. Then the add button will change and will be a start and stop button instead. For a line, which could be, as I said, a drainage tube or a out of bounds marking, you start in one end, click the start button, you walk or drive or whatever to the other end and click the stop button. So then we will send that line into the platform. If it is a polygon, for example, a new bunker or a fringe, then you start at one point, click the start button, and go all the way around that element and back to the start and click stop. Then we make a closed polygon for you so we can have a bunker that we can calculate the area of, for example. When you've tracked the elements you want on your server, then you can click the menu icon again and click home. And you should see on the home page that unsynchronized tracking groups has nothing here. That means everything has made it safely to the server. But if you, for some reason, didn't have an internet connection while you were doing this, there might be some elements in this list. And it would say 7 elements or whatever it is. You can, just like the list above, you can click the arrow in the right to see which elements those are. And you can click the update button in the bottom right to make sure all of those unsynchronized elements are sent to the server when you have an internet connection. So you could go into your Clubhouse, go into Wi-Fi, and then push those elements onto the server so you can see the sprinklers or whatever it is you mapped. Sorry, I'll just take something to drink. Yeah, so that's the mapping part and how you do that. Unfortunately, I can't show it more live than all the screenshots we did now, but it should show more or less the process of it. It is rather simple as soon as you figure out how to select the new type of element, click start and click stop when you're mapping. That's super simple. Yeah. Lastly, the tech maps and the documentation. We've added a complete section in GLFR Business just called tech maps. And what you have in there is actually the combination of the map and all the things you can document on the course. First of all, the map, of course, is there to give you a great overview of all the mapped elements on your course. The other interfaces we have here and there for editing the drawing or something like that, those are good on a single hole and for changing the layout of something. The tech map is made so you can easily get an overview of the entire course, navigate around, zoom in on something, and find the details about that specific element. For example, you can document your tech installations, as I've mentioned before. What we recommend is, as you click an element, you will get the info box I have in the top left of the slide here. In this case, I selected a sprinkler. You have an option to put something in the name field and in the description field. We recommend adding the manufacturer in the name field on your tech installation. So in this case, it could be Rainbird or Toro or whatever you have on your course. and then add the other things you want to know about your element in description. It could be the model, it could be the serial number, it could be the diameter of your drainage tubes or your water pipes or whatever it is. Add those information in description. Anything you add in description can be used in a filter. Do I have a filter slide? I don't even have a filter slide. So the idea is that we can actually make filters on the things that you add. We've made it very generic, so you can add whatever kind of thing you want to filter on, whether it's the diameter or the serial number or the combination of different sorts of grass in your greens or whatever it is. You can make filters for that, and I will show that in the practical example in 1 second. You can also add log events. So any element you click, and this is not only on tech elements, this could also be on the green or in the bunker or on a specific tree. You can add comments as the example in the slide here. And with those comments, you can also add images. So it could be an image of maybe there is some kind of infestation of whatever, and you could take a picture of that, add a message saying that we are having clovers here, and add that into the log. And then when it's fixed, you could add a new log entry saying we fixed that problem, we put some Roundup on it, and then it died. You shouldn't use Roundup, you know that, but you get the idea of it. I'll show you in GLFR Business how this works. Again, switch the wrong way. So as I mentioned, we have all of it here under Tech Overview, which shows the map. And in here, unlike the mapping app, we enable everything as you load here, because here you have the computer with more power. In most cases, you would probably want to click the layers icon in the top right and disable stuff like info and play, and maybe green details, to remove all of those red markings that were just there for information for the players. You don't need that when you're working as a Greenkeeper or looking at the technical installations or anything like that. This is what the map looks like, more or less without any technical installations. We have a few water pipes on model installed here that are crossing the course from here and there. So any element on here can be clicked, just like the water pipe I selected up here, or maybe the green here on hole number 1. And as I mentioned earlier, this is also where you see the total area of this specific green. So you can see that this green is 484 square meters. So this is a great tool, especially if you map one of those temporary elements. As I mentioned, it could be a bunker you're considering or whatever. You can actually go in here, find that specific bunker, click it, and see what would that area be if we did this, if we expanded it or we mapped a new one or whatever it is. You can see that directly from this interface. And as you see, this is where you can add a name and a description to any element. It could be the water pipe and so on. So this is more or less what your course would look like now if you haven't mapped anything. And let's jump to a course where we have a lot of technical elements, just so you can see what that looks like. I'm going on to Halmstad. Here, this loads a little slower because there are thousands of technical installations on Halmstad. And again, I will quickly go up here, remove green, info, and play, like that. But as you can see on this image right here, we have a lot of installations. All of the blue dots are sprinklers. All of the blue lines are the water installations. We have some yellow lines over here showing the, oh, I hit the forest. Let's see, can I find it? There. A cable, a power cable, and stuff like that. So we have a lot of installations on Halmstad as a demo. And what you can do here then, as I mentioned, you can click on any element. Let's say it's this sprinkler and you name it a rainbird. And then you add a model 1, 2, 3. Oh, let's call it the model XYZ. And serial number, or about just serial 1, 2, 3, 4. You can name these however you want to name them. Serial number, SN, whatever you call it. You can also do it in your local language, because the filters you can make just filter on what you called it. And that's why we made it so generic. So in this case, I added model and serial number as the description, and I added Rainbird as the name. And let's just save that for the sprinkler right here. And I can close this dialog box with this icon up here. And then I have the filters. And inside the filters, I can filter on element, which would be the name. So it would be green or sprinkler or bunker or whatever it is. I can filter on whatever is in the name field in the area below here, right there. So this is where in this case, I would filter on Rainbird if I want to see the Rainbird installations, or Toro, or whatever you call it in name. And in description, I can filter on anything that is in description. So let's say I'm looking for all the Rainbird sprinklers that are model XYZ. I can start with adding Rainbird here, Rainbird, and click the search icon. Then it says I have 4. I've done this example a few times before. So I have 4 elements total that are from Rainbird in this example. Then I can click any of them down here and see I have one that is model 123. I have one that is serial number something something. And I have one up here that's the one we just made, which is model XYZ. So let's say I just want to see the ones that are model XYZ. I go into my filter again, and then down here I add XYZ and search. So now I only have one element total, and that's the sprinkler we just added. So in this way, you can use the filters to more or less create any kind of map you want. So if you want to see all the, let's remove this filter right here and this right here, then all elements will show up again. Right, like that. So let's say instead of all of the elements, I just want the sprinkler, and I want cable. Got that. Then everything but the sprinklers and the yellow cables will get removed from the map. So you can set up your map just the way you want. If you want to see all the sprinklers from Rainbird and no other installations, you can do that. Or all of the water cables you have that are 13 millimeters in diameter or whatever size they are. If you added it to description, you can filter on it. That's the whole point. So you can make it as generic as you want. Let's remove the filter for now. Or maybe we actually want let's take the XYZ again, so it's a little easier to see what's going on. This is the thing that we added today, right there. And then let's say you want to add a logbook entry to the sprinkler. You click the plus down here and get to add some text. I'll just call it testing in alpha webinar, or something like that. This is where you can add whatever it is you want to tell about the sprinkler. You had a problem. You had you fixed it. You experienced something weird. You're tracking how much your grass is growing. Whatever it is, you can add it in these comments. And if you want to add a picture, you simply click the plus, get our standard uploader tool. So I just click that. Then you can't see me selecting an image, but let's just say I will select the GLFR logo like that. You can crop it. So if you took a big picture of your sprinkler but only want that, you can fit that in there. Click add and create. And then the comment shows up over here with a timestamp and your username. In this case, it says unknown user because I am not a part of Hamstad. I'm logged in as the admin, so it says unknown. But of course, if you add this, it would give your name. So if you add maybe all your seasonal workers, or at least all your normal greenkeepers as well, to the platform, you can actually see who added these comments at what time. So it's easy for you to keep track of all the comments and logbook entries that end up in GLFR Business. I will close the info dial and remove the filter again, like that. And as I mentioned, you can do that for any element. It could also be the bunker if you want to tell which kind of sand you have there or how much sand you usually have there. And you can use the logbook to actually add if your sand is for some reason going out of the bunker so you can see the levels or whatever it is you want to add in here. One of the main points actually of all of this is we've made it very generic with the description and the name and the filtering. We really want your feedback on how to improve this. As soon as you start working with it, you will probably see some things where you think, okay, this could be smarter. It would be really nice if I could do this, or if this was the other way around, or whatever it is. We really want your feedback as soon as you start working with this, because we want to make this a tool that makes your work more effective. Right now, it's a great tool to get everything documented, but working with it, we want to make it even better than it is today. So we really want your feedback. So call us, email us, write in the chat right now if you have an idea. Whatever way you reach us, play around with it and get us that feedback, because then we can make it even better for you. Of course, if it's technical installations and you haven't got any of them yet, the first thing to do is download the GLFR Greenkeeper app and go out there and map something. Map it on your greens, the sprinklers. Next time you have to go out and cut around those sprinklers, make sure you have the app in the pocket and just click add when you go there. If you're mapping big technical installations or just want it to be really good, we recommend using a high precision GPS. You can rent it from us, or in some cases from local suppliers of land survey equipment. Your phone is usually good enough for these registrations if you just want a map. But if you want something that's a little more precise, and you want something that maybe you could even make a work plan from it, you need a better GPS. GPS in your phone in good conditions with clear skies and stuff would usually be within a meter, which is fine for most cases. But if you want a good map of it where you know that the precision was rather high at least and stable, we really recommend using a external GPS to your phone that is better than the one that's built into your phone. At least for the mapping process. When you have to find the elements afterwards, you open up the GLFR Greenkeeper app and go out there looking for the control box in the high rough. Being a meter off is probably fine when you're looking for it and just have to figure out where it is, if it was mapped in high precision in the first place. So that's really a recommendation from us. If you in any way have that option, or contact us, then you can rent one from us if it's available when you want it. Yeah. I'll jump back to the slideshow because this was more or less the final words of today, unless there are some questions. This is the last call for questions. Usually I skip back, which I will do again today, to the agenda of webinars to make a little ad for the webinar next week. But right now we haven't gotten any more webinars planned. As I mentioned, we are considering planning more because it works really great for us and for the customers that are in here. That's at least the feedback we get. If you're sitting now and you've seen all 8 of them or looked at these the titles here and think, why haven't they talked about more about the pin positions, or how specifically do I make a specific product, or how do we set up the green partitioning with zones A, B, C, and D? Whatever it is you want to get done, if you think we should do a webinar about it, let us know, because then we will probably do it. It is a great way for us to show you specifically how to do something, and everyone else can get that same info by finding our videos on YouTube and on our support site. So that was just the final words for me today. Let us know if there's something you want a webinar about, or at least a small video, because then we can probably produce it for you and make things even easier. With no other questions, it seems, I'll just say thank you for listening today. Everything will be online soon, so you can rewatch it if there's something you missed or want to see again. Thank you for joining.